Welcome to Cyberoam Online CCNSP Training Module 5. In this module, we'll be learning about the web filter. So this will be the agenda of our presentation. We'll be learning about the Cyberoam web filtering technology. We'll have a look at the granular control Cyberoam offers you in terms of web filtering. So what is the task of a web filter? The task of a web filter is to intercept the user's request and decide whether to accept the request or reject the request. There are two methods utilized to determine whether a site should be blocked. It's based on the URL database or a keyword or pattern matching. Now the URL database compares a set of URLs to a specified defined category and then it decides whether to allow it or to block it. And the keyword is based particularly on keywords like mail. For instance, you decide anything based on the keyword mail, and you thought, okay, I'll block anything related to the keyword mail. So what will happen? Gmail, any email, wherever that keyword matches in the URL, that website will be blocked or allowed depending on the policy you've configured. We also do pattern matching. Depending on the pattern of the website, we also match it up and decide whether to allow it or to block it according to the policy. So let's have a look at the Cyberoam web filtering technology. So Cyberoam web filter is based on a combination of categories, keywords, URLs, domain names, and file types. And it's a checkmark certified service. It also offers comprehensive protection to enterprises against spyware, pharming, phishing, malicious site content, and much more. So these protections are in addition to the antivirus offered by Cyberoam. So this is an additional protection which you get with web filtering in Cyberoam. Cyberoam has got the industry's most comprehensive URL database. It has got more than 89 categories of websites and more than 100 million URLs categorized in the database. It can be integrated with any third-party URL database as well, and it can control access to HTTP and HTTPS hosted website. It increases productivity in your organization, and it can also control certain controls that are difficult to bypass, like it can filter Web 2.0 content, it can block Google cached pages as well, and it also has the ability to block embedded URLs as well. So these are some of the most important features related to Cyberoam's web filtering technology. It also supports YouTube for schools, so guys who are dealing in education sector, is a very important feature for education institutes wherein they will allow only the YouTube channel subscribed for that particular school rather than allowing the entire YouTube. So what we do is we block the entire YouTube apart from that single channel which you are subscribed for, that particular educational institute. So how do you do that? We do that via custom header injection. It can also control data leakage as well, so it can block files from being uploaded to web pages, which is very important for data leakage. You never know if somebody uploads a confidential document to any website, so you can offer you protection from those kinds of uploads as well. And it helps you to meet regulatory compliance requirements, and it prevents productivity loss with identity-based approach, which is very important because you get to see which user is productive and which user is unproductive. And you can also customize the blocked messages to educate the user. So you can say, okay, dear user, you are blocked for this particular reason. You can customize that message. You don't have to leave with the default message which we give. Of course, you can go ahead and customize that as well. Cyberoam delivers web categorization with its own web categorization engine, and you've got an on-cloud web category database. So what are the advantages of these web filtering technology? It's scalable and flexible. The URL database is updated every day, and the same URL database is for all appliance sizes or models because we have got the WebCat database on the cloud. And you've got a URL rating request as well, so you can submit your rating request for URL. And we cache most frequently accessed URLs, as a result of which all the requests to the website don't go to the cloud, but it normally gets it from the cache itself. Now, there's a small note at the bottom. Prior to 10.06 version of Cyberoam OS, web categorization was on appliance, but now it's on the cloud. So Cyberoam offloads content analysis to an engine using advanced lexical analysis to classify the content on the page and categorize the URL in real time. As a result of which, this method is less CPU intensive. And you've got your CPU to perform security tasks as well. To see the URL database, you can go to Web Filter and you can go to Category. Now, Cyberoam Web Filter can detect multiple types of files based upon its extension and MIME type as well. So even though the module name is web filtering, it can also do file filtering as well. And the best part is it doesn't only rely on the extension, it can also detect the MIME type. There are smart people moving around who will change the extension of .exe to a .doc and install malware in your PC. So if Cyberoam is there, it can also understand, okay, this extension is allowed, but the MIME type is of exe. It's not a doc file, so block that. So you can also see the file type database. In order to see that, you need to go to Objects, and then you can go to File Type. Here are some of the file types. We've given a snapshot of the file types around here for audio file, backup files, compressed files, and configuration files. But this is just a small part of it. There are a lot of other file types which is given on the appliance, and you can also have the ability to add your own file types as well. Now you can see the extensions over here, and you can see the MIME headers over here as well, and you get a small description as well related to the particular audio files or category of files. Let's have a look at the web categories. Now, what is a web category? Web category is a group of domains and URL keywords used for internet site filtering. Cyberoam has got more than 89 categories enabling to filter millions of URLs. Each category is grouped according to the type of URLs, and each category is classified into productive, non-working, neutral, and unhealthy. So you must be thinking at this point of time, why do I need to categorize a category again? Well, this is very important for the reports. When you have a look at the report section in our CCNSP training, we will be able to see it actually shows you reports about the percentage of websites which you browsed, how much productive you have been, how much non-working sites or how much unproductive you have been, how many of the unhealthy sites you have browsed, so what percentage of unhealthy sites you have browsed. So you get a detailed reporting, and it shows your productivity reports as well over there. So that's why each and every category is classified further into these few categories. Look, we'll just have a small snapshot in this particular slide showing you some of the web categories. We'll see them anyway in our labs, but just for your snapshot, these are the default categories. You can also add your own custom category as well. Now let's have a look at web category, or how to create a web filtering policy. So when defining a policy, you can deny or allow access to any web category or file type category. Now, web filtering policy types are of two kinds, or two categories. You can say one is to allow, the other is to deny. If you're going with the allow policy, that means by default it allows the user to view everything except the sites and resources specified in the rule. Just for an example, to allow access to all sites except email sites. So deny is the most restrictive policy, wherein by default it prevents the user from viewing everything except the sites and files specified in the rule. Just for an example, to disallow access to all sites except information technology sites. Now there is a small note at the bottom which is very important. If a subdomain is not categorized, by default it will fall into the parent domains category. You need to keep that in mind. So let's see how you can create a web filtering policy. You can open up your Cyberoam and you can go to web filtering and go to your policy setting, and you can create or add a filtering policy. You can give it a name, choose a template. It can be deny all or allow all. You can enable the reporting. You can have a download file size restriction. 0 is for unlimited, which means you are saying that your users can download any amount or any size of file. You can restrict that to 1 meg, 2 meg, 10 meg, whatever is your requirement. And this is the YouTube education filter or regex that will be given to you by YouTube for your respective channel of the educational institute. And here you can block or allow different kinds of categories based on the schedule as well. So you can see executable files are denied all the time for HTTP and HTTPS. Nudity, adult content, URL translation sites, which are the proxy websites, these are also blocked all the time. And gambling, drugs, and you can go on adding different kinds of web categories and file categories as well. Now, the moment you go to create a web filtering policy, this is a screen how it looks like. You click on the add button and you get to add different categories of websites and files to that particular policy. So how do you create a custom category? And before I say how do you create it, let me explain why do I need to create a custom category. I'll give you a very small example, Facebook.com. By default, Cyberoam categorizes Facebook.com in social networking sites. But Facebook has become so popular that people, marketing people, sales people have started to they have their professional networking, sales and marketing in Facebook. So as an organization, you can't block Facebook for marketing and sales people, which is a bit complicated. Now, Facebook is a part of social networking. Now you might have a requirement that you have to allow Facebook, but block the entire social networking category. So that is not going to work because if you block social networking, it's going to block Facebook as well, but you need to allow Facebook. So in these kind of special cases, you can create a custom category. You can name it as anything. You can classify it as healthy, unhealthy, productive, non-productive. You can apply a QoS policy as well, especially for the streaming websites, wherein you can restrict the bandwidth related to particular category of websites. And then you can import a list of domains or keywords as well. If you have a lot of URLs which you want to block, a lot of domains which you want to block, probably a lot of keywords which you want to block, you can always import a comma separated file and import that over there. Or else you can just write it, okay, I will type in facebook.com. So I will just write it like that. So I'll block that and you can add it. Just for an example, I'm doing it for Facebook. However, if you want to choose a list of keywords, you can do that as well. So if you want to have a list of 100 URLs, which probably you have, and you know I want to allow only these 100 URLs, you choose a file and make it into a comma separated file and import it over here. So that's when you might need to have a special custom category in certain circumstances. All right. So that brings us to the lab 16, wherein we are going to create a custom category for user. So let's do the labs and create a custom category for user. So I'll RDP to my lab infrastructure. I will go to web filter and I'll go to category, and here I'll create a custom category. So I'll click on the add icon and let's say I'll create a custom category for Facebook. I can give it a classification as productive, non-working, neutral. Just for an example, I'll take it as non-working. I'm not assigning any QoS policy to that as of now in this lab, but however, if you are selecting any streaming website, you can assign a QoS policy in that. And I'm using a local category. I'm not hosting the category on an external URL database, and I'll directly add the keyword here. Facebook.com, and I'll click on OK. Now I can also import a list of domain and keywords from a comma separated file if I have it, and if I have any predefined file I can import that over here, so I'll get all the keywords and URLs over here. I can also choose a list of keywords from a comma separated file, and I'll show you some advanced settings here. So in case you'd like to take any specific action for any specific category, you can even do that. You can override the default denied message for this particular category. I'm not doing any of these advanced settings as of now. I'll just click on OK. And let's see whether the category is created or not. So I'm not able to. Alright, so here I can see the Facebook custom category. I'll just click it once and I'll see the same thing which I've added it over here. So now I can go back to the policy and I can use this particular category to block Facebook. So that brings us to the end of this particular lab 16. So let's continue with the presentation. Alright, so Cyberoam can control access to websites hosted over HTTPS using the comprehensive website database. Now it helps the administrator to block access to unauthorized and unsafe websites like anonymous proxies and malware hosting websites hosted over HTTPS. The HTTPS traffic is scanned by two methods. The first method is common name based scanning, and the second method is SSL bridging. Now I'll give you two examples of common name based scanning and SSL bridging. Before that, I'd just like to show you an example wherein if you go to https facebook.com and you view the certificate, you will see the common name is issued to, or the certificate is issued to facebook.com. Whereas if you go to gmail.com, or rather I'll say go to youtube.com, the certificate is issued to start.google.com. So that's the basic difference. Now when you say common name based scanning, we can see the certificate common name and we see facebook.com. We understand, all right, you're accessing Facebook. But when you are going to YouTube, we see any other device will also see the same thing. It's start.google.com. Now nobody understands whether you're visiting YouTube or you're actually visiting Google. Yeah, you can do one thing, you can probably block start.google, but that's not going to solve your problem. So this is how it happens with the common name. So if you see, when the user browser sends an HTTPS request, the web server issues a certificate. So you can see that this particular screenshot, the certificate, you can click on view certificate in your browser under HTTPS and you can see the certificate is issued to customer.cyberoam.com when you go to https customer.cyberoam.com. The same thing changes when you go to youtube.com and you see here start.google.com. So what Cyberoam does is Cyberoam will check for the name of the website on this certificate and take necessary action. So if you can read this part like customer.cyberoam.com, we understand, all right, you're going to customer.cyberoam.com. Whereas if it is start.something, we don't know where you're going because it's actually YouTube, or whereas it's being shown here in the common name start.google.com. And that is why you need SSL bridging. So this is the second method of HTTPS inspection. So in SSL bridging, Cyberoam gets in between the client and the server, and Cyberoam provides its own unique certificate to the client and establishes an SSL tunnel with the client. So you can see here, the first thing what you need to do it in the user's browser is import the Cyberoam certificate authority, so that when the user initiates a communication with the server, it's the Cyberoam which intercepts the communication with its own, starts another communication with its own certificate to the server, and when the server responds, Cyberoam stops the request and sends the reply to the end user, since the certificate is the same like the user's browser. So that's why the first thing what you need to do is import the certificate authority of Cyberoam, so that whenever the user initiates the tunnel, Cyberoam initiates two tunnels, one with the user and the other with the server. So it's like a interception of the traffic in between with Cyberoam certificate. So Cyberoam establishes an SSL tunnel with the server and then it checks the traffic. Now since the connection is initiated with Cyberoam certificate, see, Cyberoam knows that what websites you are visiting. So this time, if you go to youtube.com, even the common name is star.google, Cyberoam knows, okay, you're going to youtube.com. So that's the second method, which is called SSL bridging. And in order to enable SSL bridging in Cyberoam, you have to enable HTTPS scanning in the firewall rule from whichever zone you are traversing. If your user is in the LAN, so you have to enable HTTPS scanning in the LAN to WAN rule. If your users are on the DMZ or in any other custom zones, you have to enable HTTPS scanning on that particular zone. So we've got a customized denied message in Cyberoam as well. So if someone is trying to access a website where he's blocked, you can throw him a customized denied message. Now there are two options to set up a customized denied message. Either you can set it at a global level, or else you can also set it on a per category level. So you can say this video search and you put in a default, you can override the default denied message and you can customize it over here. This is on a per category level. You can also do the same thing at a global level and you can say, okay, dear this user, you're being blocked for this particular reason, for this category. I'll show you a sample screenshot. This is how it looks like. So, dear John Smith, this is a message from the IT department. The website you're trying to access is this, and it's listed under this category. So you can customize this entire denied message. You can maybe put in your company logo in here. You've got the header and footer options, which you can design on your own as well. Alright, so that brings us to the lab 17, wherein we'll be blocking social networking on HTTP and HTTPS. So let me just go back to my lab infrastructure. Let me do a full screen. So I'll go to web filter and I'll go to policy and I'll click on add to create a new policy to block social networking. So I'll name the policy as block social networking. I'll go ahead with the template allow all. You can however select any of the template you like, but for this particular lab I'm going with allow all. And I'll click on OK. Now I'll click on this and I'll click on add. Now here I've got a lot of categories. What I'll do is I'll search social networking, and here I see the category. Now the lab said that you can either block it on HTTP and HTTPS. So what I'll do here, I will select the HTTP action as deny, and I'll select the HTTPS action as deny as well. And I'll leave it the schedule is all the time because I want to block social networking all the time. So I'll click on add and I will click on OK. Now what I'll have to do next is I'll have to apply this policy on a user or on a user group. So I'll go to identity. I already have the existing user John, so I'll apply it on the user John. I can also apply it on the user, but however I'll apply it on this particular user. So I'll click on OK. Now you can alternately apply the same policy if you go to any group and you click on cells, and you can apply the same policy on the group as well, so that all the users in that particular group inherit the policy. So but if you go ahead into a particular user and you select a different policy for the user, that user policy is going to override the group policy. So I'm done with my application of the policy which we created here. So I'm already logged in as a user John. So let me see whether Facebook is being blocked or not. Since Facebook is a part of social networking category, and as expected, I got dear John and you're blocked from accessing social networking. So let's have a look whether HTTPS Facebook is blocked or not. So I'll close this off. And I will select https.com. So I can see here that HTTPS Facebook is also blocked. However, I'm getting a certificate error. This is because of the HTTP scanning, which we discussed in the earlier slide, wherein we are doing an SSL bridging. Now there are some websites, like if I go to https youtube.com, and if I have a look at the certificate, so I'll go to the certificate and I'll click on certificate information, and you can see it's star.google.com. Now that's where a problem is. So if I want to block HTTPS YouTube, I'll actually have to block Google. Rather than doing it, if I enable HTTP scanning or enable SSL bridging in Cyberoam, I'll be able to block YouTube even though it has a certificate from star.google.com. Now if you want more reference, what you can do is docs.cyberoam.com. You can go to this website now, and you can refer to the detailed link here for how to import Cyberoam CA certificate. Now you must be thinking, why do you have to do all of that? Now since Cyberoam, you have enabled HTTP scanning on Cyberoam, and Cyberoam CA is not trusted, you'll have to follow this particular document on how to import the Cyberoam certificate authority in all of your browsers, or else you can also do it via group policy in Active Directory for all of the computers which are a part of the domain. So if you follow the document and import the Cyberoam CA into all of your browsers, you'll not be getting this error message wherein with the warning. Alright, so now let's end with the lab and let's proceed with the presentation. So let's see how Cyberoam offers granular control in your web filtering policy. The Cyberoam breaks free from static IP-based policies using user identity-based policy capabilities to apply predefined surfing policies to any user. Now that's the beauty of the web filtering policy. In Cyberoam, you don't have to look out or hunt down for IP addresses. Rather, you get meaningful usernames, so you know which user is accessing what website, what are they doing in what websites, and whether they're accessing any malicious website, unproductive websites or not. Now, organizations can define and apply policies based on user, group, application, hierarchy of your organization, departments of your organization, or you can also combine any one of this. You can also apply it on a schedule as well, which is very important. Let's say you like to block Facebook from Monday to Friday, but you like to allow it during lunch hours, say probably 12 to 1 every day in the week and also in the weekend. So you can have these kind of granular controls with Cyberoam's web filtering policy. Now, Safe Search, I'm sure you must have heard about Safe Search offered by Google. However, there are certain other engines, web search engines, who offer Safe Search. So when Safe Search is enabled on Cyberoam, websites containing pornography and explicit sexual content are blocked from search results on search engines. And the engines which are supported are Google, Yahoo, Alta Vista, Bing, or any other web search engine which has got Safe Search functionality. However, you need to take a very important note, which is at the bottom of this slide. This is applicable only when access to porn, adult content, and nudity categories is denied in web filtering policy. So be very careful while you're creating the web filtering policy. You have to disable the access to the porn, adult content, and nudity. These three categories must be denied in your web filtering policy. Now this is how you enable Safe Search. So you go to web filtering and you enforce the Safe Search over here. You can also enable farming protection, which we'll cover in the next slides. And you can also have an override default denied message. Now this is the global denied message which I was talking about, and you also have a per category denied message as well. So this is how it looks like. We have taken a sample screenshot from Google search engine, and you have enabled Safe Search, and you try to search some porn links, and this is what comes up when you have Cyberoam Safe Search enabled. But again, those three web filtering categories have to be denied in your web filtering policy. So let's have a look what Cyberoam provides in phishing and farming. So an attacker can poison the DNS and hence mislead a user to be redirected to another site instead of the original site. So that's a kind of DNS poisoning, or in other terms you can call a farming attack. On Cyberoam, when the farming and phishing is turned on, the request is sent to the actual server instead of the poison server. And phishing is pretty much similar to farming. The main difference is that the attack is initiated by sending phishing URLs using emails. So suddenly you get an email from your banking website and say, hey, you've got to change your password, this is how it looks, and you log into that particular link or click on that link and you're redirected to a phishing website which is not the original bank's website. And you put in your password and he grabs your keystrokes and he gets the password. So that's pretty much a phishing attack, whereas farming attack is more on the DNS poisoning side, and we offer you protection on both the sides. So let's have a look at how Cyberoam offers privacy. Now Cyberoam generates a report of the user activity and saves it with iView, which is accessible to any administrator. So any administrator can log into Cyberoam and check the iView reports. If you enable 4i authentication in Cyberoam, it adds an extra layer of security by encrypting the identity. Even a super administrator cannot see identity-based report unless an authorizer or another person than the administrator is present. So 4i authentication requires minimum of 2 persons or 4 eyes to be present to be able to see the decrypted report. So this is a network admin. What he has done is entered the password. Anybody comes in and tries to see the report, any other administrator, he can't see anything until and unless he's authorized by somebody. It could be CEO or CTO. So it's just for providing privacy to the administrator. So now you can see it clearly. So that's an additional privacy layer which we provide for the administrators. So that brings us to the end of this module, and the next module which we'll be doing is the application firewall. Thank you for attending the presentation.